Morning, all. All right, so the 2022 look at team histories begins here. Begins with Tampa. Tampa was just a logo I grabbed at random. I wanted just a logo so that I could plot out the board. And once I plotted out the board, I was like, yeah, I'll start with Tampa. Makes some sense since the last time I did this video playlist was 2019, and a lot has changed for the Tampa Bay Lightning since 2019. They kind of became a big deal in 2020 and 2021, and almost did in 2022 as well. So, remarkable run by the Tampa Bay Lightning since the last time I did this series, and we've had other developments in the league as well. So I figured, why not take a look, change some things from the last time I did this. And again, things change, including their top 10 all-time points leader list, which is now led by Steven Stamkos. 922 games played with Tampa, 481 goals, so he'll get goal 500 this coming season. 491 assists, so he will get his 500th assist, which means 1,000 points. He's currently at 972. Speaking of 972, that's the number of games played by Marty St. Louis with the Tampa Bay Lightning. 365 goals, 588 assists, 953 points. His number, of course, retired by the team, the number 26. Vinny Lecavalier's had his number retired as well, the number 4, this one right here. 1,037 games played with Tampa, 383 goals, 491 assists, 874 points. Nikita Kucherov is the next one on the list. 562 games played, 246 goals, 370 assists, 616 points. So quite the drop from 874 to 616. I get the feeling Kucherov will make up the difference and probably do it quickly. Then you got Victor Hedman. 898 games played. Makes me feel old to see Hedman with almost 1,000 games, but here we are. 134 goals, 469 assists, 603 points for Hedman. Already a Hall of Fame career for him. Brad Richards, 552 games, 150 goals, 339 assists, 489 points. Key player for this team during some of their best times early on, looking back at 2004 and whatnot. And so they haven't retired his number. You could make an argument they could. You could absolutely make an argument that they could. Andre Palat, 628 games, 143 goals, 280 assists, 423 points. And could be leaving the team as a UFA this offseason. Maybe he decides to stick around and try to move further up the list, but he probably moves on. And then you've got Alex Killorn, who also has been rumored for years to be on his way out. But he's played 723 games, hasn't been traded yet. 171 goals, 231 assists, 402 points for Killorn. And then there's Vinny Prospal. So one of the throwbacks on the board is Vinny Prospal. 468 games played, 127 goals, 244 assists, 371 points. And then Braden Point rounds out the top 10. He will not be 10th for long. 417 games, 167 goals, 201 assists, 368 points. So it's a pretty solid top 10 list of scorers for the Tampa Bay Lightning. I always enjoy looking at that, and it's something that dates back to when I was a kid. The first time I ever saw a list of the top all-time scorers for each team, I was like, this is great. This is fantastic, and I have no idea why. None. Anyways, I do like numbers, though. Your wins leader, Vasilevsky, is the wins leader, as he was the last time I did this, but now he's got 229 regular season wins for Tampa Bay. And so, yeah, pretty strong total there. Ben Bishop's a distant second with 131. Then you've got Khabibulin with 83, and it's always surprising that Khabibulin doesn't have more than 83 wins as Tampa Bay's goaltender. And then there's Pupa with 77 and John Graham with 53. So as I mentioned, retired numbers, number 4 for Lecavalier, number 26 for Marty St. Louis. And then we get into the playoffs. Now, I decided for this video to talk about the playoffs since the year 2000, to have that be the cutoff. Otherwise, with Montreal, it would be basically the whole board, and I don't think we need that. But anyways, maybe I'll do a different board for Montreal. Who knows? So 2003 was the first time since 2000 they'd made the playoffs. They lost in round 2 in 5 games against the New Jersey Devils. They then won the Cup in 2004. The interesting thing with Tampa Bay was that they had missed the playoffs for years. They did a really good rebuild to the point where they won the Cup the second year they did make the playoffs. Then we lose the 2004-2005 season, so they did not repeat. And once we get to 2006, it was a different team they had in 05-06 than they had in 03-04. Makes some sense. They lost in the first round in 5 games against the Ottawa Senators. 2007, they lose in the first round again, this time in 6 against the New Jersey Devils. And then it's a while before they're back in the playoffs. They were not in the playoffs from 2008 till 2010. In 2011, they make it all the way to the conference final. They lost in 7 games against the Boston Bruins. 2014, so there's another couple of years they're not in the playoffs. They lose in the first round in 2014 and 4 straight against the Montreal Canadiens. 2015, they lost in the Stanley Cup final. That series was a 6-game and really a good series. Loss to Chicago. In 2016, they lose in the conference final. It took 7 games for Pittsburgh to put them out that year. Pittsburgh on their way to a Stanley Cup. 2017, they missed the playoffs, just barely. They were so close to getting in. And it was a furious run to the finish that almost put them in the playoffs. 2018, they do make it back to the playoffs, and they make it back to the conference final yet again. They lose in 7 against the Washington Capitals. Now, famously in 2019, they did lose in 4 straight in the first round against Columbus, which means that people got this impression that, Tampa's not going to be able to win it, even though they'd been in conference finals in 2011, 2016, and 2018. People just focused on 2019 and how they had failed to live up to expectations after what was a fantastic regular season. So they scaled it back. Very often what we see is that a team will put everything on the table and they win that President's Trophy, and then I think in the playoffs they don't have anything left. They can't turn it up to that next level because they've been doing that all year. So Tampa Bay, it felt like they were pacing themselves the last 3 years. It's worked pretty well. They won the Cup in 2020. And I've seen people say, well, it wasn't that difficult. The bubble playoffs were absolutely brutal for the players that were in those bubbles. So full respect, and it was a lot of hockey over a very short period of time. 2021, they win the second straight cup, and this one they got to really celebrate at home for that one. And then in 2022, of course, just a couple days back, they lost in the Stanley Cup final against Colorado in 6. And again, if that series had been forced to 7, they were going to Denver. Colorado had some issues closing out series at home. And it's very possible that Tampa Bay we would be talking about as a 3-time Stanley Cup champion and a dynasty. They still have a chance at a dynasty. If they win the Stanley Cup in 2023, that would be 3 cups in 4 years. What works against them with that is it's a lot of hockey they've played over a short period of time. I have full respect for their 2 straight Stanley Cups. I don't know how much more energy they can expend in the playoffs or how long it is until teams figure it out or they lose enough players, like guys like Palat, Killorn, whoever they lose this offseason and going through next season. Eventually, things kind of even out, and your, very successful teams that are at the top of the league get dragged down a bit. So their Stanley Cup years, there was 1 the last time I did this video. Now there's 3, 2004, 2020, and 2021. The arena that hosts them has hosted them since 1997. It was opened as the Ice Palace. It's now Amalie Arena. They've had a very long sellout streak, and I've seen people talk about they paper it and they do this and they do that. It's a very, very, very good string that they've got running of sellouts, and I think it's fine to try to knock them down. But I haven't heard anything ever about Tampa Bay losing money or having struggles at the gate. Certainly not over the last 10 years, anyways. So yeah, it's a big arena. They tend to fill it every night. And at this point, I'm wondering when we're going to start talking about arenas that were built in the 90s. Like, it's built in the 90s, but maybe we need to replace that too. It just feels like arenas get replaced pretty fast. Anyways, their coaching history, they've had 9 coaches since they came into the league in 1992. Their first coach was Terry Crisp. Crisp, 391 games coached, 142 wins, 204 losses, 45 ties. Their current coach, John Cooper, 715, and this is regular season numbers, 715 games, 434 wins, 220 losses, 61 losses, and overtime or shootouts. Cooper's been fantastic. He's already built a Hall of Fame resume. And while there's people who took issue with some of the things that took place with him and all the time delays, well, if you get away with the time delay, why not take some more time with the refs the next time around? So honestly, it's been quite a change in how we would view Tampa Bay 3 years ago versus how we view Tampa Bay now. The first goal in the team's history was scored by Chris Kontos on October 7th of 1992. It was a power play goal at 4:43 of the first period against the Chicago Blackhawks. Tampa Bay won that game 7-3. Made it look like it might be a really good first year. It was a good first year. It wasn't necessarily anywhere near as good as that 7-3 opening night win looked. Most recent goal, of course, was a couple nights ago against Colorado Avalanche. At 3:48 of the first period, Steven Stamkos scores June 26, 2022, in what would turn out to be a 2-1 loss against the Colorado Avalanche in the Stanley Cup final. So no shame there, and Stamkos is on the board yet again. Their all-time penalty minutes leader is Chris Gratton with 828, which I'm pretty sure I did a double take the last time. I'm doing a double take this time as well. Just that they don't have anybody with more than 1,000 penalty minutes in their career. But hey, they came in after we were already seeing the decline of enforcers in the NHL. So season records, goals, Stamkos still holds that mark with 60. In the 2011-2012 season, it was a fantastic year for Stamkos that year. Kucherov has the record for assists on the team with 87 in 2018-2019. That famous season where he also put up 128 points, which is the team record. So 2018-2019 for that as well. Their all-time penalty minutes leader for a season is Zenon Konopka. 265 penalty minutes in the 2009-2010 season. So there you go. The all-time video for Tampa Bay, and I've got Zenon Konopka on the board. Wins all-time. 44 wins in a season recorded by Andrei Vasilevsky in 2017-2018. So the numbers you see here, 2018, 2019, 2017, 2018, both in seasons that Tampa Bay doesn't quite get over the hump. Now, in looking at their draft history, Tampa Bay is very, very well known right now for being good at getting great draft picks later in the draft. So looking at their best draft picks, this is highly subjective. You guys can let me know your picks in the comment section, no problem. But looking at it, I went, and this is in no particular order. This isn't like 1 through 5, a big reveal. But I went with Brad Richards, who was drafted 64th overall in 1998. That turned out, 1998. No, that's not right. Yeah, no, 1998. It just doesn't feel like that's long enough back. All right, so 1998 for him, 1996 for Pavel Kubina, who was drafted 179th overall. So Kubina went on to have a pretty solid career, and again, being drafted 179th overall, that's remarkable. 2011, they draft Andre Palat 208th overall, and he's top 10 in their all-time scoring list. 2011, they also draft Nikita Kucherov 58th overall. So, I mean, it's second round, but I would still consider that a steal looking at Kucherov's resume currently. And then 2014, of course, they draft 79th overall. They get Braden Point. So Braden Point seen as a huge steal at that stage. He's also top 10 on this list. And again, there are other players I could have put up here. I just thought those were 5 notables. Now, first round picks that played less than 100 games. This shows that when Tampa Bay drafts early, they draft pretty well because the players on this list, and I'm not including anybody who's drafted recently. So if there's still the chance somebody can get to 100 games, they don't go on this board. So 2009, Carter Ashton's drafted 29th overall. He ends up playing 54 games in the National Hockey League. Number 30 overall in 2005 was Vladimir Mihalik. 15 games played in his NHL career. 1996, drafting 16th overall, they draft Mario Laraque. He ends up playing 5 games in the NHL. 2006, they draft 15th overall, Riku Helenius. Played 1 game in the National Hockey League. And in 2004, drafting 30th overall, they drafted Andy Rogers, who did not end up playing an NHL game. That's not bad. As we're going through team histories, I'm guessing there's going to be some teams that have a lot of first rounders that never made it. Part of the reason is going to be that there's teams in the league that have played since 1967. There's teams in the league that have played way longer than that. The draft was instituted in 1963. So there's going to be a longer list for other teams. But also, like I said, Tampa Bay drafts pretty well. Notice the highest draft pick of a first rounder that didn't play 100 games is 15th. So if you're drafting 15th, you're likely, depending on the draft year, but you're likely drafting somebody who's probably got reasons he didn't go in the top 10, might end up not making it, and this kind of thing. So, yeah, I think that's a pretty strong list overall. This is a team that drafts well. This is a team that's been at or near the top of the league for a long time. And the anticipation is that will continue. But does that pressure eventually get to them? Will we eventually see that everything gets scaled back? Yes. In general, things change quickly in the National Hockey League, and as soon as next season, we could be looking and going, well, the door's closed, or next season we could be saying, and the new dynasty in the National Hockey League is the Tampa Bay Lightning with 3 cup wins in 4 years. And I've already seen people say that with 11 straight series wins, which they had after the last time I did this video, that with 11 straight wins in the series, they're already in that territory as it is. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And again, doing an updated version of the team histories is a fun thing to do in the off season. So here we are, and hope you guys enjoy it as much as I do. Thank you guys so much for all your support. Do hit like and subscribe, and I will talk to you again soon.